Hey everybody, today I want to show you a technique for how I start the bases of a lot of my bags. This is a very simple technique that allows you to kind of just get started working in the round so that you can make the base of a bag in almost any shape. But in this case I'll be showing you a kind of an oval shape. And from there you can start working upwards. So here we go. I'm using t-shirt yarn for this and I have an 8mm hook. So for a start, you will have a fairly long tail. It will kind of depend on the size of the bag that you're going to want to do. You need to allow for a certain number of stitches on the tail. So I'll leave a fairly long tail and then just put my slip knot here. And you can see I've got quite a long tail here. So I will show you how to do this in several different styles. To start off, we can do knife grip. And what you're going to want to do is hold the yarn as normal. And when you're actually forming the chain, you're going to do a foundation chain, meaning you scoop under the tail, and you may need to, for the first stitch, you may need to actually hold it in place. Scoop under the tail, scoop over, and then pull through both. And if you can see there that forms the first stitch, it's a little bit tricky to get, but trust me, it does work. Scoop under the tail, then scoop under the working yarn and through. Under and over and through. There we go. And this is what it looks like. This is your foundation chain. And you can see that it does have kind of matching sides. It will have essentially the V's on both sides. Now, if you want to do it, with pin, same thing. Under that, pull through. Under that, pull through. Now, just as a matter of course, if you want to do this left-handed, the same thing applies, obviously, except that you're going to be doing it mirrored. So under, and through two. And, you know, you're going to make almost the same stitch. It doesn't really matter a whole lot. But for what it's worth, if you are left-handed, you can absolutely do the same thing. It works the same way. Don't worry about it. I will also show you how to do throwing style, in case you don't, that's the style that you do when you're not comfortable or whatever with knife or pen grip. You literally hold the yarn here, or anyway, to be honest, you don't need to get fancy with this. Put the yarn over the hook. This is the tail. See, take the tail, put the tail over the hook, hold it here. Take the working yarn, put it over the hook in the other direction. And then you can hold it here to keep tension if you want, and then pull it through. Same stitch. So we'll do a few more. You may find that, all things considered, that just doing this, throwing this kind of basic slow throw is the fastest way to do it. But by and large, it's nice and easy. Now, you do need to count the number of stitches you want. Again, this is t-shirt yarn. You can see how far it stretches, but depending on your tension, this will be either looser or tighter. If you're doing the base of a bag, I generally think that you do want to do this on quite high tension. T-shirt yarn is especially good for doing the base of bags because it can stretch while still like holding its shape together and creating quite a nice thick bag. So generally, I like to have just enough of the tail left so that whatever is left of the tail is less than the length of the stitches that I've done. But in this case, we've got a little bit extra. It's not really important. Now, when you're actually doing the base, this center here is essentially helps to determine the shape, and the number of rounds that you do will help to determine the shape. You will have a number of rounds on either side, and like say if you want to know how wide it is, there you go. If you have, let's say you had 4 rounds, then you'll have 4 on this side, 4 on this side, and then you also have like 4 there. So you can kind of work out the shape of it. And if this is shorter and you add more rounds, then it's going to be closer to a circle or a square. but we're doing kind of an oval shape, so that's how we're going to look. We're going to start spiraling and up and down here. So when you actually want to start working, start working in the round, we're not doing like distinct rows. We're just going to spiral because we want it to be easy. So first thing you do is just add one chain, and then what you want to do is kind of just turn this over and put the hook right in there into the last stitch. Now, the t-shirt yarn is especially forgiving. If this doesn't give you enough play, add an extra chain in here. And we're just doing single crochets. Now, swap over, let's do this. Let's do this a few different ways. So, knife grip, literally put it right in under. Now we're working underneath the chain that we've done. The foundation chain we're now working underneath it. We're going to go, so we're going in kind of the underside. And all we're going to do is just single crochets all the way along the underside. And you can see that I'm weaving in the tail. So I'm going to weave in the tail as I go along. And this is really good for strength and also just for hiding the tail. Like, you don't necessarily want to cut it off. You just want to make sure it's not there. And it gives it a little bit of extra like thickness and structure to the seam, like this join right in the center. And let's keep going. Get to the end. More of my yarn. Now I can see from doing this is that this is going to be a rather flat bag, but we're not going to do too many rows, so it's going to be like, it's going to have a base, but it's going to be like it's going to have like an oval-ish base. You don't necessarily have to make it oval. You can actually work this in kind of any kind of square you want. This is just really good for making bag bases specifically. So last stitch in the end. And we just about have the tail. And you can see that like it'll just kind of, yeah, it'll curl up. You're just going to have to trust me. Like if you work at high tension, yeah, it's going to curl up a bit, but it does actually even itself out as you continue to work it. If you have to, you can block it as well afterwards, and it should block out fine. Anyway, now that we're actually here, what do we do now? Well, what you're going to do is turn around, and I'll swap the pencil grip for this. And now we're at the end of the row. Basically, same thing. One or two chains depending on how much play you need. And into the first, there we go. And then we just kind of work back along the underside through all the stitches. And again, it's going to curl up a small bit, you know, it's going to block out at least, but I found that this works incredibly well for bag bases. And I'm sure that if you can eventually you'll just kind of decide what shape of a bag you actually want, or you'll get specific instructions. I do reference this video a few times in my patterns, so I really hope that this is useful to you. If not, then feel free to message me, and I'll totally walk you through it. So we're just going to continue all along the end, and we're basically working in the round now, because now you can see we've got our stitches here that we can start to work our way around. So the last thing that you need to know is essentially how do you continue, because at the moment all I'm doing is single crochet, and I'm doing single crochet in a big thick chunky yarn. So I'll just finish this, and we got to the end again. Now that is essentially one row on either side. You want to mark the center. That's the center of the starting row, and you've just worked on either side of it. But this is always your starting point. We now have one row on either side of that. Now, once you're up this far, there's the two chains right in there that you use to give yourself enough play to actually be able to work it. Because we're going to work and make an oval shape, then we'll start putting our increases here. 1, 2. Yep. 3, I need to feed up more yarn. 3, 4. Oh. Yeah, I lost it. Let's try that again. 3, 4. Again, whatever shape you're making, the pattern should give you specific instructions as to how to actually, how many do you need to actually form the shape, where your increases and decreases, or where your increases are going to go in order to make the shape. But once you actually get to this point, at this point when you're actually working on top of that first row, now you're going to be doing the waistcoat stitch or the split V single crochet. And that means that you don't go in here underneath that, the top of the stitch. You go in right through the center of the V, the center of the stitch, and you can see there it comes out underneath that loop at the back of the stitch. And this is very important because this gives the bag a lot of strength, and it means that it won't be as stretchy, but it means that the base of the bag will be very, very sturdy. And if we can keep doing that across, then it weaves in here incredibly tightly. Now, this is stretchy t-shirt cotton yarn, and you can see it's obviously got holes and everything you can see through, but I have tested this particular method on a number of different yarns, and I found that like a decent cotton yarn at good tension will form like a very stiff, structured, solid base, which is great for bags. And then when you want to actually start working on the body of the bag, you finish whatever round you've been told to stop on, however many rounds you need to do, finish whatever stitch you're at, and then just essentially start working up. No more increases in the bag will just start to form. And there you go. I found this to be possibly the best way of doing, like, if a bag is not designed to be entirely flat, if it needs to have a base, this is my preferred base. Obviously, if you're actually using a built base, if you have, say, a plastic piece or leather with holes that you want to crochet onto, that's a different thing. But if I'm just going to crochet a base, this is absolutely the way that I do it. I really hope this is helpful for you. If you have any questions, please leave them in the comments. Thank you very much for watching. Bye-bye.